And we're live. Hey, there we are. I'm Craig Martelle,
I'm Michael Anderle.
and we're here to talk to you about some questions that you guys asked, and we appreciate you jumping on board, and we appreciate everybody who participates in 20 books, and especially being nice to other authors and just relaying, hey, here's what worked for me, and here's what didn't work for me, and then
Which is
people,
yeah, that part's really important. You know, the not part. I was like, yeah, okay, this worked for you, but does this? And if enough people come back and say, no, it did not, it can save you time, effort, money, and other things.
yeah, because there's as indies, we do have a tendency to throw a lot of mud at the walls and try to see what sticks, and there are times when you really don't need to do that because others have, and it hasn't stuck and probably will never stick. So yeah, sandwich board outside of H&R Block to sell your science fiction book. It sounds like a great idea, but it may not be. It may not pay for itself.
In the cold of winter in Alaska.
Oh my God, they have people up the tax place here.
Yeah.
It has people with the stupid sign
Oh, really?
flipping this, and it's freaking like when I drove by, it was 20 below, and there's somebody out there spinning aside. Come on in, do your taxes. Oh, geez. How much do you really have to pay someone to do that? The answer is minimum wage, which up here it's like 10.50 or something an hour. But my God, that's a
cold. No, thank you.
That's a rough way to do it. Yeah, they're all completely bundled up. You can hardly see them, and they're spinning the sign with their big bear mittens on and stuff. So
one big hand, kind of like when your number one thing you do.
Yeah, it warmed up. It warmed up because it's going to snow. So we have that going for us. So here we are. Let's now we've gotten people. We have 15 viewers. So thank you for coming on board. I like this Be Live thing. It's really cool, except I can't follow on Facebook itself because then I hear myself and it's really bizarre and annoying. And then when you make comments, I can't see who's making the comments. All it says is Facebook user, which I guess Be Live is working on that. But here we are. Let me first question I want to take is kind of how we start our day. So Amy Borst, I'm locked up. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine, but yes, you do look quite interesting. I should get out the little black and just start kind of drawing in a
yeah.
And, giving you the whole devil goatee.
We will see if I unlock. But in the interim, what is your daily schedule? Not just for writing, but exercise, cooking, meal planning, tending to kids, running the teams, et cetera, et cetera. So what is, why don't you start, Michael?
You're kind of an ass, Craig. So a little bit before I said, hey, Craig, do you want to get together and go over these live questions? And he goes, no. It's more fun if it's off the cuff. I'm like, you bastard. Because I have a hard time sometimes doing this right out of the gate. So I went ahead and decided, hey, you know what? He doesn't want to do it. That's fine. I'm going to go jot just a couple of notes to make sure that I have an answer. Anyway, so now that you're back, and I do work pretty much 7 days a week, and most of the time I'm doing something related to work. But the challenge is that I like it so much. So when it comes to like eating food, I mean, our main location is sitting here on Las Vegas Boulevard South. We have a condo here, so if I want to eat, I can just go down the elevator and walk over to the Aria and have any food there, or up and down the strip. So I go out almost all the time. I found out that condo living is not that great because whatever you cook inside the house tends to leak outside the condo. I'm not really wild about sharing my food smells with everyone, so I tend to be sensitive to that. So my kids are actually all in college. On. What are you doing, dude?
I'm trying to get myself locked on in here.
Well, you were fine the other 5 times you disappeared.
Holy cow. Oh, and now I've got feedback on my speakers. It's horrible.
They were doing their things. They were in high school. but I do tend to eat out a lot, so I don't have to worry about the cooking part. And we had taught our kids from like 7th grade and earlier to how to do their own clothes. So, that was just part of life. So I don't think that I have as much family obligations as most people do.
And I think that's our big difference. Holy shit, that's horrible. All right, let's do it this way. We're a little bit different. I'm an old retired guy. My wife is a professor at the university, and she's got her full-time job. So
pull it a little bit, yeah.
Let's
just keep it away from here.
Okay. I can't do this. It's
just notice where it is, because when you're doing it by hand holding it, you're puffing into the microphone.
Oh, okay. Let's try now. Oh my God, that's horrendous. Anyway, I'm not sure I can do that. Anyway, I'm an old retired guy, so my wife is busy and I don't have any obligations. We do have a dog, so that helps me get out. And so I will go out and take maybe 4 walks a day. And I'll do the cooking, and we actually hired a housekeeper to do the cleaning, because that was 4 to 8 hours a week that I didn't need to spend, that I could spend working on 20 books to 50K or the conferences, which I spend way, way more time on than writing my own books. But I do manage about a 50-50 split to get books, which includes the marketing and promotions and stuff like that. You'll see me probably spending a little bit less time on 20 books over the next month or two because of a number of rollouts and series. And then I'll have a lull where it'll be kind of in between, where we'll start developing some new IP. But otherwise, the day-to-day, it's get done what needs to get done. But overall, it's a long game. I'm planning for what happens 3 months from now or 6 months from now. The launches and releases I've had since the middle of December, I've launched every Monday, and will continue launching every Monday actually through March. I have enough books in stock on hand and in the mix that will go through the end of March at least. And that all started in June of last year, where I started building the IP, the co-authors, and things like that. So this isn't planned today. It was planned 3 or 4 months ago. So I've got certain things that pop up and I need to take care of. But generally, the big stuff is what I get done first. Like I've got, it's 11:30 and I've got 2,500 words already written on my book that I need to finish this week. Just because, as I stated in my one post, my most lucrative books are the ones I write myself. And that's an important point probably for everyone, especially as you expand your offerings, is that little cuts here and there are cool, but still the foundation of what made you an author and what made you a successful indie is your own stuff. So that's, I need to keep writing, and that's also my escape from the day-to-day stuff.
Nicely done. So how about the next one?
The next one, let's take Joe Solari's question, which could easily take the rest of the time. What planning methods worked for you as the business scaled?
Seat of the pants worked really well. I just want to say that. No, you didn't catch that, Craig?
Let me see. Oh, God, it's still echoing. It's horrible.
So for me, cash flow is an issue at scale, which is pretty hard. My success has a lot to do with trusting those who work for me and using their skills. So what maybe some people don't recognize is that whenever I engage people for any of the universes and everything like that, they're all people who are at least 40 to 50 years old, typically, except for Chris Raymond. I don't know how, I think he's late 30s, and then Ellie Brabant. But they come with decade or multiple decades of experience already running either major groups within companies or companies themselves. And so I didn't have to deal with some of the planning methods because I would give this whole chunk of responsibility over to a person. So age of expansion, Craig can speak to that. You know, when he took it over, it's he and I worked in the beginning. And then once it's like, all right, do you want to do this? I just gave it to him. There was no planning. It was like he took care of the planning. So I think one time I spoke at I talked to some people at NINC, and this is a couple of years ago, And they were surprised when I said, one of the most effective strategies I found is to hire people who are older than 40. And the reason for that is it's not necessarily age discrimination, is what's going on in their life. In the 20s, you have people who are doing a lot of things about getting into relationships, falling out of relationships. And then 20s and 30s, you have a whole lot of family stuff that's still going on. And somewhere in the 40s, they're starting to, gel with what's going on with family. And so they tend to have the experience necessary. So 3 or 4 of the people who are most involved in LMBPN are, I would say, at least 55 and above, Craig?
I think so.
2, 3, 4, at least 4. And so that, they're through a lot of life. So from my standpoint, I still need what's called a dashboard. And that's one of the things I'll be talking with Stephen Campbell about this week, because I don't know where everything's going on, because Steve takes care of Steve's stuff. If it's operations or audio, Steve has that in his head. If it's anything to do with what Craig has that in his head. If it's anything to do with Oris Aaron, Martha has that in her head. And the same thing with Age of Magic. Now it's Chris and Lee and Amy. They have those things in their head. So I have a bit of a disconnected management style that I'm having to work through, because I don't know what's all going on in my company. So I've got to fix that.
So planning methods for scaling. So you talked about bringing in people, insiders, and expanding that team. From my perspective, my scaling started with IP. I built my backlist. I built my personal backlist. I started expanding that IP last fall with a number of co-authors. And actually, it started last year with Scott Moon and Dark Landing. We did that. We wrote that, and we'll still continue to try pimp that for TV. But but scaling up from there, it took a long time in order to be able to target the ads effectively and then start moving forward. So I didn't bring these people on board, and then all of a sudden we're not making any money, because it's there's always the promise of money. We're doing this for our art, of course, but we don't want to suffer for our art. So we'll do our best to. Oh my God, you can't believe how annoying that is. We'll do our best to make money, and to do that, it takes marketing campaigns, promotions, continual presence on the net, whether it's through Amazon ads, Facebook ads, or even book club ads. All of that stuff has to come together, and you can't do that while you're continuing to create IP. So that's why I'm writing less and trying to market more. So my co-authors can be successful from a monetary standpoint, and then we can all win. We can all get out there more, and then when they separate out, go back to their own stuff. Now they have a platform and a foundation from which to build. So that's where we are. So business scaling. It started with I wrote books, then I wrote a lot more books, then I got people to help me write books, and then it's now, like Sel said, bookage.
Yeah, and a lot of the same for me. How about your anthologies, though? You were doing those even before you did Scott Moon.
The anthologies were. It was one of those things. If it's not there, you must write it. If you don't have it, you have to build it. And the anthologies were a chance for us to collect each other's readers and get stuff out there. So we've had 4 of them so far. I am going to do a 5, because the presence that the expanding universe has is good and growing. We've got a great readership out there, as well as a marketing tool to help us all find more readers and get our work in front of people. There are some incredible authors who are just looking for that opportunity. So the Expanding Universe 5, because of our success with the Nebulas last year, Jonathan Brazy was a finalist. Hopefully we'll have a finalist this year, or 6. I think we had 6 stories out of the Expanding Universe 4 in the running. So hopefully 1 or all 6 will be a finalist. That would be way cool, because we're in multiple categories, novelette as well as a short story. It gives people a platform, and that's one thing where indies don't swim alone. swim in a school. We can help each other through shared promotion. Sometimes those taper off, but still giving yourself a chance to win with the quality of your work. And it all goes back to the quality of the story. If your story doesn't grip a reader, then no one can help you, because the readers are the final arbiter of whether you're going to be successful or not. People can put all kinds of marketing dollars into something, but if the readers aren't going to buy it, then you got to go back and study. And that's one thing I've been doing for more than 3 years now, 3.5 years, trying to make every sentence better than the last one. And I get great feedback from my insider team. And I sent them a snippet this morning, and within 30 seconds, I got, "Hey, did you change this sentence? Look at this." And I'm like, "Oh man," but they're right. And I look at everything critically and try to get better, because a good story, you can sell a good story. You can sell a bad story once. You're not going to sell the sequel to it, though.
Yeah, and just, what I tried to express in my discussion is I did a little bit by seat of the pants, knowing, having studied a lot of entrepreneurial businesses in the past. I decided that, I would rely on the talents and skills and knowledge of those that I was working with, versus trying to, I know quite a few people who feel like they have to have their hand on every little piece of what's going on in their business. They're pretty much always just doing that. It's just not my personality. It would drive me knucking fucks if I had to do that.
Okay, cool. Tessa Escalera, what methods do you use as an entrepreneur to avoid burnout, both on a creative front as well as professional?
Oh, why don't you go for this? Because I know how I do it, but once again, I believe that I'm not the typical person.
For me personally, the philanthropy part of what we're doing is what buoys my spirits and keeps me going. Yes, it's nice to make good money, and I love the business side of it. And I keep getting people trying to solicit me to manage my business, and that's the goddamn last thing I'm going to give up, because I love that part, the business side of it. I'm not giving that up.
I don't get these solicitations. Who solicits?
Yeah. People with dollar signs in their eyes, just like me. Hey, look at that! I made 48 cents already by 1 a.m. To avoid burnout, it's I have so many little things that I do, and people that count on me, and I want to live up to those expectations. Like with whether co-authors, whether this group of 20 people I'm going to teach at the class at University of Alaska Fairbanks this spring. Those folks are counting on me to deliver a good course. I've got my book. I've got 75 copies of my book to give to 20 people. I guess I overestimated on how popular I was going to be. I'm not the popular guy.
I think you're very popular. It's location. It's effing cold in Alaska.
There might be that. So yes, and bears. So,
and the bears,
doing all different kinds of things, and also I'm not so wrapped around the almighty dollar side of our business that a bad day or a bad week or even a bad month is crushing. Okay, I've got a nice war chest. So it's the ups and downs. We will have ups and downs. Just all there is. This business. There's some seasonality, even though I powered my way through the fall. No, I'm releasing 5 books in this bad month. I don't care. I'm releasing them. And even though we didn't rank well, the sales were decent. So it's just there was a lot of competition. It's okay.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah,
paying to get that visibility, and that's just what it is.
Well, part of that though is you and I talked about this at length. I don't know where the hell I was going, Colorado, I think. And we discussed it where our ranks were lower than what we were normally expecting to see, but our income really hadn't changed that much.
That's right.
And in reviewing it, it seemed like there were a lot of people, say, in the mystery and thriller side and the nonfiction, as a holdover from Christmas time, they were still ranking really high, but they're not necessarily in the same genre as we are. So overall, it still kicked our books down. But it wasn't like it was terribly affecting our income.
Yeah, that's the bottom line is your rank doesn't matter, your dollar income does.
Yes.
Now, you also want to keep track of your overhead, make sure you're not spending 10,000 to make 8,000. 8,000 sounds impressive unless you spent 10,000 to get there. And then it doesn't. But if you spend 8,000 and you make 32,000, that's a pretty damn good month.
Yeah, it's a really good month. Yeah, for my answer to that is, and once again, it kind of goes up to the one above it, was I outsource a lot of the things that don't work with my personality. I've looked at what are those things that I believe allow me to be successful, and I try to double down on those, and then I try to extrapolate myself out of the others. Is that always effective? No, because let's say that, I think I suck at Facebook ads, and then I find out that the individual I'm now paying hourly to do Facebook ads, as an example, sucks worse than me. So now I have to take them back over, and I'm out the money. And, it's what stops me from using some of the individuals that are going around right now, let's say for Amazon ads, where they're like $2,500 to pay them before they do an ad. And I'm just not willing to do that because I'm like, you know what, I can suck pretty hard at Amazon ads and go through $2,500 myself and then still be as successful. So it depends on what you want to do. But managing the operations of putting the books live on Amazon, hate that. Totally outsource that. I don't like Audible nearly as much as Stephen Campbell likes to do audio. So he does that. I don't. Now, having said that, I also try to make sure that those people who I outsource to get to do something they love to do. And I'll take Stephen Campbell as an example. Operations isn't his thing that he necessarily loves to do. He does it well. He manages what goes on, but he loves audio. So it's kind of, I give him all of that as well. So he gets, when we went to APA and at Book Expo last year in New York, he got to meet a bunch of audio narrators, which for him was almost like meeting Hollywood actors for other people. And for myself, I was kind of nonplussed about it. I liked Medium, but it wasn't like I was like, oh my God, there he is, Gerard Reynolds, for example. And so it really helped. It keeps him happy, excited, and creative. And for myself, not so much. Now, I like doing, and we'll talk about this, I think, in one of the further ones, I like creating worlds and I like creating characters and understanding what's going on between them. I don't like to do world building. I can't stand it. So if it's strictly on myself, I'm going to build something from the inside out versus going outside in. But trying to, keep it back to the burnout, right? Creative professional exhaustion from workload question. I also, it's been said multiple times, keep filling the well, keep filling the well. I didn't understand that comment for probably a good year and a half. I never had a failure to come up with something. It's just how my mind works. Eventually, I got to a point where I could feel the struggle in coming up with something creative. Not that it stopped me, but I could feel the struggle. And it looked from a situation of just time. And I started backtracking going, okay, if I watch a movie, that's 2 to 2.5 hours. If I read a book, that could be anywhere from 2 hours to 4 hours. If I read a comic book, I can flip through that sucker in 10 minutes. And I am a visual creative person. So I went to the comic book store and a couple of times down there, I bought $300, $400 worth of comic books that I felt was interesting to me. And I just started going through those because I could go through them so much quicker. And from that was where the concept of Protected by the Damned came from, was going through comic books. I haven't done that many as recently. I've gotten more into just reading again and being able to disconnect my editor voice or that also author voice of, man, I wouldn't have done it that way, or at least minimize it enough to where I enjoy the reading part of it again. And you just have to make time. When I signed up for this a couple of years ago and I thought, okay, this is going to take at least 3 years, I knew it would be 3 really hard years. And in doing so, I'm like, well, what am I coming out with on the other side? And the answer is a much bigger business. It's a lot of relationships. We've helped a lot of people, and hopefully a lifestyle that I enjoy, and I don't have to work 60 to 80 hours. And have to work is a little bit of a misnomer. I enjoy the hell out of it. So, I do 70% of what I do is just flat love doing it, and 30% is like, eh.
Yep. My co-authors are buoying my creative spirit because they're coming up with great stuff and back and forth conversations. Just like whenever I bring up a plot with you, the back and forth quickly resolves any issues. So I would say 5 minutes with Michael Anderle is as good as reading a different book from Robert Heinlein or something like that to keep those creative juices flowing. It's important. I'm sorry I keep cutting out, but for fuck's sake, where I live, it's lucky I have any internet whatsoever. So sorry about that. There's nothing I can do about it. I hope that you hear me as well as I hear me, as annoying as that is. No, we don't do ads for other authors. Why are you guys wearing jackets indoors? It's 62 degrees here in my office. So, and that's with the heater on. It's 62 degrees. So that's why I wear a sweatshirt indoors.
Mine, it works. It's nice. It's branded, of course. So that's part of it. If you don't, at 20 books to 50K, love, peace, love, and mushing. Oh,
dog mushing.
Dog mushing. Alrighty. So, but that's why it's part of that. If I didn't do this, the last time that I did one of these things might have been with you, Craig. Judith's like, you wear your LMBPN shirt Monday, Tuesday, not on the day that you do the video, Thursday, Friday. And I'm looking around going, oh my God, where's, and all of mine were dirty. I'm like, oh, my jacket, let me throw my jacket on. So
there you go. I made sure mine were clean just because. Next question from Jen Mitchell. Do either of you foresee any major changes or developments occurring in the self-publishing industry in the near future?
Yeah, the only constant is change, right? This comes, Craig, speak to, if you will, the maturation of a new business area. Like, in other words, if a type of business becomes very profitable, I'm thinking back into the 1998 timeframe with individual technology companies all sprouting up in the last 10 years, whether it be software or IT, and then of course as they move forward. But just from your business perspective, what happens?
There's you always have cycles because you have to look at your product. Is it unique? Is it replicable? Is it marketable? Those kinds of things. Because look at Crocs. Crocs came. There was a bunch of imitation that was a lot cheaper. They changed their business model, and now Crocs are coming back again. You don't wear them up here because of your toes would all freeze up. But looking at something like that, what is the technological trend? What was it, 2007 when the first book or the first Kindle was?
That's about 10 years ago, 10, 11 years ago, I think, somewhere in there.
2009, whenever it was, that was the red letter event that ushered in the self-publishing industry. Even though it didn't happen right away, it did incrementally because anybody could now put out a book at minimal cost. You didn't have to buy 10,000 copies and ship them out to bookstores. And that is the big model difference. And now you can make real money with these books. And what we see from TradPub is that they seem to be trying to augment their hardback and paperback revenue through overpriced books that people will buy because they love this author and they've read them for 40 years. But now it's an ebook is $16.99 or something, and you can buy the hardback for $15.99. Well, $16.99 profitability on that if you're a big five publisher is about $16.50. So why not? For us, we get a great cut. We can make good money. But what's the next? It might be blockchain, where you buy one book and if somebody borrows that, you're getting paid each time it's getting read, as opposed to the used bookstore industry, which was sued by TradPub at one point in time to try to get a cut. Hey, I sell this book once, you sell it 10 times. You make more than I do, the creator and the publisher. And no, they lost that court case. Nope. Once it's used, it's used. You can sell it 50 times if you want. So blockchain completely defeats that business aspect, selling used books. So that might be the future. Who knows? Imprint a story directly on your brain eventually. And I think indies flex far more quickly than trad pub now, but trad pub has enough money to sway an industry or hold things up. And that's probably going to be how the future is shaped. What if Barnes and Noble, who already tried to sell their business and nobody bought, what if they went under tomorrow, just like Payless announced, and all of a sudden they're liquidating? So Barnes and Noble, all of a sudden, what kind of competition will we see from Trad Pub with them trying to make up for all of this loss of revenue and resources that they have scattered throughout the United States? I think that's where it can be free for all, because now they're going to be shepherding their their capital, whereas indies can be like, hey, let's dominate more of the market, let's gain market share, which somebody like Michael Anderle and LMBPN is in a position to gain more market share as a small publisher moving into the mid-list publisher if the big five, for some reason, are impacted with a significant downturn in the hardback side of the industry.
I think we'll also see some maturation of, for instance, you have the LMBPNs, or, I can name off half a dozen other indie writers who have become publishers and within either their own universe or creating joint universes. And then someone is going to, either outside the industry, people with money are going to come in and go, I'll buy you, I'll buy you, I'll buy you, and I'm going to create my own group because I've got $20 million and I'm willing to spread it around. And now they've become, the next generation. I've watched that happen in the IT area quite often, where, somebody had a software development company and they grew it to a few $1 million, and then someone came in with 50 million and they bought 3 companies in Dallas and 2 companies in Houston and 1 company in San Antonio. Now they're the Texas company, and so they move it together. So there's going to be a fair amount of that. Discoverability has been big on my mind for 2019. And how do you become findable? And so we see a lot of the authors working together to increase their findability, their discoverability amongst using their own fans. If you do look at the Trad Pub, it's interesting as you're talking about the Barnes and Noble. One thing that I hadn't considered is Barnes and Noble too big to fail? Would the big Trad 5 people come in somehow, some way, and make darn sure they didn't? Because if they do, that's the end of half of the Trad Pub's model right there. And that means that they're going to have to hire more salespeople to go after the indie bookstore market in order to try to get, on that shelf space, or they already have plans in place to allow Barnes & Noble to fail and then, move it out. Because I think Amazon does about 40 to 50% of all paperback, hardback sales at the moment. So they, how many is Barnes & Noble? The next 30 to 40%, arguably. We see different situations. From us, LMBPN in this case, putting out 20 to 30 books a month. We see series that work, we see series that don't work. And the vagaries of the market and what they're excited about. I see that I believe lit RPG is not particularly the crunchy math part of it, so you might really say game lit, but is that style of writing similar to rap music back in the late 80s, early 90s, where it became a thing and most people who are listening to it going, what is this? I don't get it. It's just a bunch of people talking. It's not real music. Well, 30 years later, guess what? It's real music that's really popular. And so is that style of writing going to take over romance? Is it going to take over mystery thriller? Is that style of writing going to get into other genres into the future? Because the people who played video games for so many years of their life appreciate that style of writing. So that's kind of something that's going on the back of my mind. Elon Musk's AI company that he's a part of just announced that they have stopped the release of some AI software that they've been releasing before because it's too good at writing the next paragraph. If they just feed it 1 or 2 sentences, it can create the next information that goes down the line that you would believe. And they weren't really looking at fiction writing as being the answer. They were looking at false political statements. They were just saying, false news. They were saying if someone got a hold of this technology, you could just blow out so many false bits of news that you never know what's real from not, and that's a tactical choice on their part. So what's the question on our side? Do I believe that an AI could write a book? Arguably, yes, but can they write it? Can they write a compelling human character? I see so many human writers who can't write a compelling human character. So do I believe an AI can? I'm not sure about that. And can they carry it across series? Well, then if they can't, because they can't plot something out that's 12 books long or something, well, then we might have to niche up. But, that's going to be something that's in the back of our minds. Spoken with Apple recently. Apple still suggests, free first in series, which we know on the Amazon side kind of went away because of Kindle Unlimited. Is Scribd going to come back online? We see the Audible side of things. For a long time, I saw that Audible was kind of the 800-pound gorilla, but it doesn't seem that way anymore. You have to really question that and see what's coming down the pike. So there's a lot of change still in our industry, and I look forward to the opportunities that change brings as much as the effort and work it's going to bring. You look back in history, you will see that a lot of the big names that were in the 2011, 2012, 2013 timeframe are not around. And Kevin McLaughlin has a research that he did, and something like 4 out of 5 are gone. And part of the reason is it's freaking hard to stick around. So due to the change and everything else, I'll get off into the next question, which is if you're going down that list, Jennifer Glenn, how do you prioritize your online social media presence for marketing? And I'll tell you that from the beginning, I only focused on Facebook and Amazon. Since Amazon took a lot of that away, I focus on Facebook, and I don't have a large presence outside of that. Your turn. Can't hear you. Microphone. No, still can't hear you. No, you're still just a guppy. Just a little orange, yellow guppy. Nope. Ha! It's all about you. So I'm going to get to answer for you. So Craig says that he likes to do. All right, man. You're going to have to drop and come back on? Yeah. So we'll, but anyway, going back to that, that's how I prioritize my social. Now you just keep trying, man, until you interrupt me. We'll see what goes on, but. To that as well. You gonna try?
Can you hear me now?
I can. So you're.
Hello, how about that? Oh my God. All right. Online social media presence for marketing. That is a certain Facebook presence, and I use Facebook. I don't use Twitter. I don't use Instagram. I do use BookBub.
I do want to start
review every now and then is important, I think. The Facebook presence, multiple pages, multiple groups, those are challenging and sometimes time-consuming. 20 books at 50K has a certain time-consuming element to it. But I do want to be helpful and try to help and try to keep that group on the straight and narrow so it can be helpful. It can be a refuge, a place for people to come when they're having a good day or a bad day and share and do good things. And don't limit your 1-star reviews. It doesn't help.
Yeah.
So
no, but that brings up an interesting aspect. I was talking to someone the other day, and the question that was posed to this individual I was talking to was, when I had made a comment that the 20 books events are nonprofit, and they questioned this individual I'm talking to that I see more often, is like, do you believe that? And I guess I sit there and I think about it. I go, why would we necessarily lie about that? I mean, I guess it's kind of like it's too easy to find out if we're lying about it, one. And two, you can look at the price of the tickets and go figure out what it costs to put it on to go, yeah, there's no money in this.
And London giving money back.
Yes.
You don't do that stuff if you're looking to make any money off of it.
So now one thing I did tell him is if we come out a few $1,000s ahead in an event, we might roll that money to the next event.
Which we did. Last year we came out $5,000. So we had a $5,000 kicker. and that's why I'm trying to get a different catering as part of our the tables of food in the back, so we can get a low carb option, because every option in the catering is a carb option of some sort, donuts, cookies, whatever. And so trying to get a meat platter, use that money to, even though it's going to be expensive, but still to provide at some point in time like a meat and cheese platter or something that could accommodate folks looking for something more substantive than a freaking donut.
No, don't take my donuts away. No, but I will get back to the other one. But I don't think a lot of people know that how many times you and I had a discussion that we were 75,000 low for Bali. And that meant that both of us were on the hook for 37,500, because I've told Craig before, if he does this and it looks like he's going to be under, I'll pay half. And then it's just the other day, you said we're getting close to breaking even on Edinburgh, which means that, neither one of us will have to at least put money into it. Now, having said that, I've already bought tickets. Craig makes me buy tickets to these fucking things.
I do.
So it's, from a net cost, I pay my airfare, I pay my tickets. I'm there as an individual. The only thing, the benefit that Craig gives me is he gives me first dibs on the suites. So if I want to upgrade, I get at least to upgrade to a suite. So I take him up on that all the time.
Yeah, we do that. There's a certain amount of comfort needed, because the conferences are very time consuming at the conference themselves. We do answer a lot of questions, and oh, by the way, we still have businesses to run. Last year during 20 Books Vegas, I published a book on Monday, and still had to promote it during the week of the conference.
Yeah, it was like the 15th of November, 18th, right in that time frame, and I'm freaking out because our sales are so low compared to the previous year. And I realized not only had the conference, of course, screwed us over from reduced book releases, but I didn't realize that the year before, which was the first 20 books, I had published a Bethany Ann book, because I wanted to be on that 2-year mark. And that carried us through the fact that we had spent all this time at 20 books. And so this year, I didn't know that. So I didn't make sure that was handled. And we had kind of a sucky month.
Well, and also, we brought all of the LVPN folks to include the beta readers. Yeah. Our insider team, everybody came to Vegas. So we weren't getting anything beta read. We weren't getting anything promoted. Everybody was conferencing. So we pretty much lost an entire week out of the company, where there's always something going on, whether it's editing, whether it's beta reading, whether it's publishing, whether it's promoting, whether it's pimping stuff out on the Facebook page, or working in Slack on the next artwork, the next cover. All of that stopped for a week, and it was a rather significant impact this year. So
yeah, well, we're smart at this. So we made discussions, or I made discussions. We had discussions internally about how we're going to do pre-orders for that week. We're going to get our shit set up. If let the collaborators know, if you don't get your books in time, they're not releasing. If we can't get it done and get it early and get it up, we can't do it. And part of that is just, it means so much to us, to be there, to be available. And I say it in another question, and I'll only touch base on it right now, but people have multiple facets you have to feed. You have to truly feed them with food, shelter, but there's a spiritual part of this. And 20 Books feeds that piece of me to help others. So, that's a part that we need to do, but it does have repercussions on your business. And so coming back to the social media part of it, I can also say, even though I can point where I've lost money, like spending for 20 books or time or whatever, I've gained money from the relationships of the people that I've met there. And so I'm always net ahead, if you will.
Yeah. We have met some incredible people, and talking about collaborations and the writing retreat up in Edinburgh, I'm sure we're going to see some incredible talent, and we may have a sidebar and further conversations with those folks, because if you can write a great story, we can talk. And that is what it takes. We're going to have, I think we have 7 editors now who are willing to walk around and work with people during the writing retreat part. So that's better than what your kids are getting at school, better than like 1 to 10. So look at that opportunity as something that you can really excel at. How do you shape that sentence to make it engage? How do you make that first page grip the readers in such a way that they won't put your book down the rest of the time? That is the win. Mark Dawson does great, calling it unput downable is his company. So let me cruise down here. Yes, there will be bacon. First cookie is mine. Michael has to buy a ticket, damn straight, and so do I. And Vegas, for example, we buy rooms for people. We buy plane tickets for people. I've bought 10 rooms, actually 13 if you count them all said and done. Three suites and 10 rooms for folks. I buy the tickets. Yeah, I pay for my own ticket, but then we cover a lot of other folks, almost like a sponsorship, mentorship kind of award grant to help you, because we all win. Just like if your kids get educated to a high level with everybody else's kids, all of society wins. We think all the indies win if we have better indies. So that's 20 books for 50K. We're all cool about it, and we try to help each other, because a rising tide floats all boats, not just those who are quagmires.
You got a hole in it. Good.
So,
are you reading off the statements from the Facebook?
Yeah, I'm trying to read the question, see if there's anything we got to answer. Okay, let's go to the next question.
What intangibles keep you coming back when the going gets tough?
I think we answered
that. Answered that one. I mean, in general, I have the one time that I really sincerely remember this is when I was up against the wall trying to dig deep to get the next story written when I didn't want to, and all the money was there. There was no money reason to do it. You know, you're making 6 figures a month. I want to say burned out is a tough word to say because it means so many different things, but there's a level of burnout and inability to kind of come up with the next story. And what I found was that inability was because the next story was damn complex. And I didn't want to do complex stories. I don't like to have, I don't want to do a mystery because I'm going to have to figure out all these red herrings and stuff. So, but that was the hardest time that I had to push myself through. And what ended up doing it was the constant beating of the drum from the fans of when's the next book and noticing my sales going down.
The fans are a great driver. I do read my reviews and they're very supportive. They appreciate it. I love seeing well written. That's important to me. But also the interaction, the engagement. You'll see whenever I put a post on 20 books to 50K about, hey, what do you like about this group? Here, let me give you something away to people. We get 500 to 1,000 comments of people saying, I really like this group. This is my go-to group. This is the only group I check on Facebook. The hope, the fact that these two guys right here, Michael and Craig, help people to feel hope in what is arguably a tough world. Anything going on makes it tough. All you have to do is watch the news and it sucks your soul dry. But you can come in here, 20 books to 50K, and feel hope and feel good about yourself and your business. And that's what matters.
So Craig got a hold of Kevin J. Anderson, brought him down to Bali. So I got a chance to meet Kevin there and then go and check out his Superstars writing conference in Colorado Springs a couple weeks ago. And so through this, I'm noticing something that's said at multiple different conferences. And that was that society wants to read books that help them take away from a dark time. That society in general believes that it sucks to be here. Now, it could be an American thing, because we've had all this political stuff going on for so many years now. But in general, that's true. And when time is good, you're going to see horror or anxiety or those types of books kind of go up because they need something different than what's in life. But just realize that whenever the big, and by the way, Superstars is half trad, half indie. So, you're getting both sides. And these were the trad people saying this. And I actually have a fair amount of respect for the trad people. And I believe that what they've accomplished has allowed me to have a career. They built a science fiction and fantasy genre. I wouldn't have that if they hadn't done it before then. So, hats off to all of them for that and what they continue to accomplish. And so, But it says that if everyone's getting on that boat, do you, like the stock market, do you want to be a contrarian? Do you want to consider, is it time perhaps to give somebody a little taste of something different? So when Craig, you were talking about just, the fact that 20 books is a positive area, which I think it stays. That's, my intent the whole time. Don't try to sell your stuff. And my whole point for that was I didn't want people to feel obligated to buy when they didn't have enough money to get a gallon of milk. And authors are like that. So I didn't want to put that there. And don't be a dick. And I'm sure they made it sound a lot nicer. But that was the original rule. So, but just in you hear it going from time to time. People want a release. People want to go somewhere and enjoy themselves. Okay, you can go now.
All righty then.
If you want the next.
Building your business, you look at platform building ads as a separate expenditure from ads directly to sales.
Yes, but so I know that these ads go to Death Becomes Her first book of the series. Great. The ads that go and get me likes or follows or emails, more importantly, I still consider sales, but I would then apportion them across the different books as being a percentage of that. So that would be my own internal. And you?
We have multiple pillars of support in future sales. You have newsletter building. You have your back matter that you use in your book that hopefully will sell other books as well as get them as permanent fans. We have Facebook. So imagine, if you will, all these intertwining Venn diagrams of cool stuff, and you are in the middle. And that is what you want them all to come to, where the fan is looking at you. And they follow you on Amazon, and they get your newsletter, put you on their white list, so get your email multiple times a week, or they check you on your Facebook page, or they do those things that fans who then become super fans without kidnapping you and breaking your ankles do.
So that would be really nice.
Hey,
move your microphone and see if it comes a little less, because it's weed in there.
How about that?
Better, thank you.
Okay. Well, I'm trying not to listen to myself, and that's what's really, really annoying, and why I talk in long diatribes. I think even though people have been successful without newsletters, I think newsletter is probably your single best vehicle to keep people on board. And now what I've seen in the last few months is that the newsletter isn't as effective. My open rates are down 30 to 50%. And I think that might be also because of the interaction between the newsletter and the server, the receiving server. I think some things changed. The newsletter gets delivered, but it doesn't report back to MailChimp that it has been delivered and opened, because sometimes I will put in pixels so I can see, and it seems like people who click are way different than what MailChimp reports as, hey, you had a 10% open rate. If I count the clicks, the unique clicks, it seems much, much greater than that, 2 to 3 times. So when your data fails you, you have to do your best Kentucky windage and see where to aim going. And if I can tell a person, hey, my next book is out, you like this series, and then they buy it, that's a win. It's worth sending that email.
I've had to do some additional advertising on AMS for the latest book, just so people realize that book is out, because they miss it on the emails. And I think actually, that's a good point that we might, I don't think inside the company, we look at whether or not people have opened and closed, so they haven't even opened it yet, and tried to do a follow-up email. These are the books you missed in February type of thing.
So a roll-up, yeah, as a matter of fact.
Yeah, we haven't done that. We've reassessed how we do emails, whereas we used to be doing it each time we released. That got too busy as we ramped up our quantity, so we started doing, once we were thinking we'd go to 3 times a week, we were overwhelmed trying to do 3 times a week. We ended up doing it twice a week, once for the latest books that were on sale, which are Saturdays for us, and once for just books we have on sale, or those friends of LMBPN that were highlighting their books. And so we now only do it twice a week. My goal is to eventually advertise to get more people onto that, because effectively it's a 99-cent email list.
It's the way to go. I like making that contact, but also Facebook, my Facebook follow page, because you have 12,000 people on the Catherian Gambit page, which is a great way to get in touch with people. Facebook is still the big gorilla. You can get mad at Amazon, but they still have 70 to 85% of the market, and we don't want to piss on them because it's not going to work.
Oh, hey, well, it's probably appropriate, maybe the other point, but page versus groups, we've certainly seen in the last. Yeah, what? I wish I had Michael's hair. Yeah, you wish you did. Michael wishes he had a haircut. I did pages in the beginning because you can advertise against pages, but if you want the best opportunity for interaction, it's a group. At least it is right now at the moment. That allows the fans to talk to themselves, so that as you grow, you don't have to keep as busy. Believe that you do need to be in there probably at least once a day to keep it going. I do not. It's one of my biggest failures right now is my social media presence or lack thereof. And but if I were to do that again, I would make a page, and then like I've done with Protected by the Damned, immediately the first article in the page is come see us in the group. Yeah.
Yes.
Just tell people right off. We don't do anything here on the page. Just come see us in the group.
The group is the interaction, and interacting with the fans is probably what you did the absolute best right out of the gate. You interacted with the fans. You asked them questions. Well, what do you like about the series? How do you see it going? Whatever.
I was lonely, man.
I was lonely. Well, such
I
a
knew
lonely
nobody.
business.
I know. I knew nobody in the indie community. I came in here without having one clue, just my opinions, and knowing that I really needed to get people on my side so that they didn't give me a bunch of 1-star reviews. So I figured if they liked me,
yeah,
probably at least not give me a review.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of 1-star reviews, but I've gotten my fair share of them, and unfortunately, Book Report keeps track and gives you a total. I think I have 67 1-star reviews. Fuck.
Hey, for the record, he's the first one to say that word. I did not. I was not the first one this time.
Okay. Willow Hewitt, what's the biggest mistake you see new authors making? Just one, Michael.
Learning from what life is teaching you about your products. And what I mean by that is too many times, if you'll put your books out, you'll get interaction. They won't listen to the interaction because it doesn't fit their worldview of what they believe. If it's a passion project, they've been thinking about it for 12 years. And when someone says this is boring, this is whatever, just because it fascinates you doesn't mean it's going to fascinate enough readers. So listen to what they're telling you and make assessments and adjustments if you want to. But don't just believe because the feedback coming back isn't what you want to hear, that it's not accurate in their world. Beat that.
I would say, in my estimation, one thing I see new authors making, because I live in 20 books to 50K, is that they get quagmired in everything else. You can't do anything until you have a completed book, and the better you can make it, the better it will be. Perfect is the enemy of success, because you will never have a perfect book, because every reader is different. Even J.K. Rowling, if you want a boost, go over to her Harry Potter and Sorcerer's Stone and look at the 1-star, 2-star, and 3-star reviews and how she gets lambasted, and the overall number of reviews. She has, 30, 40,000 and a bunch of bad reviews, because you can't please everyone. So write the best book you can and then start looking at the other stuff. Don't get quagmired in, oh my God, I got to build a newsletter list. How do I do it? I haven't written my first word yet. Don't disappoint your fans, because if you haven't written writing a book is fucking hard. It takes a lot of work. It takes dedication. It takes a lot of effort to get from that first word and that first paragraph that has to hook the readers all the way to the end, where the readers will read all the way to the end. And that is a challenge. Once you've done it a few times, you say, okay, I understand the pitfalls. I understand where I need to avoid. I understand where I have to slog through descriptive scenes or something that isn't sexy to write. But you have to write the book. Write the book, and then start looking at, okay, by the way, because once you've written that first book, the advice I would give is put it aside for a month and now do the other things, and then come back to it, see what a piece of shit it is, fix it, because you can't edit a blank page, and then turn it into and look at some of the stuff and say, hey, this is better than I thought. Because everybody thinks that first book they write is shit. If you don't, then I would be concerned.
I didn't.
Oh, but yours wasn't. So that's not ego. When you go back through it, you're going to see flashes of brilliance. You're going to say, man, I can't believe I wrote this. These are great words. And then you're going to look at the next sentence and say, oh, okay, there it is. But you'll fix it and then keep moving. And my first book, 100,000 words, I edited 20 times. I went through it 20 times. And I was about ready to scratch my eyes out with a shrimp fork before I hit publish. And it still had sentences that were halfway done. And it was crazy because I couldn't find an editor. So I edited it myself. I hit publish. I did my own cover in PowerPoint. Thank you very much.
Tell you? Yeah, oh yeah, it sucks horrible. Did I ever tell you that I actually got an editor from like some fucking, my turn, island in the middle of Zimbabwe or some shit, where I had to send them money via God only knows what archaic methodology. And the guy was so bad, I found mistakes, which I don't find editing mistakes. So if I'm seeing them, that's a real problem. And finally, that is how I learned that he sucked so bad, is by the third time, I'm going through this going, man, if I'm finding mistakes, oh, I'm screwed. But yeah, editors is we could go off on that subject because I don't know. Editors are a mixed bag at best.
Well, I'm trying to read the comments. Somebody says, oh, hey, Book Report does that. They tell you your total number. I have 41. I hate you.
Oh, I'll tell you right now, somewhere around book 5, 6, 7 in the Arthurian Gambit, I was bitching. I mean, bitching about a low review. And I was in the car. I wasn't driving. And Judith was asking me, am I going to change anything based on this review? Because they were probably arguing about story or something. I was like, no, I'm not going to change anything. She's like, well, why are you reading it? And I had to come back. But this is my personality. I know you, Craig, can read your reviews and find things out of it. For me, Michael, if I see a low review, it might ruin my fucking day. I just emotionally is not something I handle that well. So I don't even read anything but 5-star reviews. And it just is. I know that people are going to argue against it, and I'll say, great, but it's just another way to deal with it. It's not something to be religious about. But just knowing my personality, I'm not going to ruin my life by dealing with it. So I did try one time to have one of the people I was working with. I said, would you just summarize reviews at the 1, 2, and 3 star and give me the high points? Just kind of, I was thinking abstract the information. No, they actually took the horrible parts and made it to where I could see them really easy. So it wasn't very effective.
No, that's not optimal.
No.
But you have a great just-in-time readership. You might have 10, 20 readers who will give you honest feedback through your editor, so it's filtered, and
Yes.
And then you publish a better book.
Yes.
And then that's the best book you're going to publish, and then you move on. So anything after that is almost immaterial, but it's not, because you do need those kind words. You do need to see those things that people are seeing. I think what for me on the Nomad Found series was 175 reviews on the first book, and it was 4.5 or something, not as good as I wanted. And the last book has like 150 reviews. 10 books later, still got that many reviews. And book 7, which I completely rewrote because it didn't work, I tried a different style, that only has 70 reviews to this day. So people didn't want to hurt my feelings because they liked me as an author and they liked the books, but they didn't like that book. So 70 reviews. That is my 1 stars from my fans. They just don't leave a review. and then book 8 has like 135 reviews.
This is the one where you had him tortured, right?
Tortured. Yep.
Yeah, it was a hard book,
book.
dude. Yes, it was a hard book to read.
But you know why I wrote that book was because of goddamn review that said Char was not. She was the alpha werewolf, and she wasn't acting like it. You're ruining the story. And I looked at it. I'm like, oh my god, you're right. And that fucker gave me a 1-star in book 8. So fuck him. And I
can't tell. I like the gigging Craig every once in a while.
So yeah, I wrote book 7 in response to a bad review, and he only gave me a 4-star in book 7, and then he gave me a 1-star in book 8. I'm glad he stopped reading at that point. But that's what reviews can do for you too. Is you're not listening to the majority of the readers and the fans, because it was book 7 and 11 book series. Yes, they bought it, but they didn't like it. And they liked 8, they liked 9, they really liked 10. And that's what you should pay attention to. Now, if you're writing one book every 6 months, unfortunately, your feedback stream isn't as frequent as ours. Especially right now, I'm publishing a book a week. My feedback stream is, right now, I'm like Michael. I don't look at any of it because I got a book to get out. I'm already inside that loop of got to get that next book out.
Yeah, no kidding.
So,
but I did change. Huh? Did we answer
Sadie Moss's question about, with such a massive operation, what do you handle yourself versus outsourcing?
No, we didn't. Where is it? There's a whole bunch that I haven't.
It's after Kevin McLaughlin. I might have skipped his.
I guess skip poor Kevin, huh? Sadie Moss, what's social? I mean, servers. All your contractors. I kind of answered this a little bit from those above, where I said that I hired people who, if I say hired, I collaborate with people who already know how to do this. I did learn in the beginning, it's kind of like when I was in IT and we would, let's say that we were selling and supporting Microsoft Word, and you had to actually tell people how to use Microsoft Windows in the first place. That was a bad decision. So whenever I brought people on who were brand new everything, brand new authors, brand new this, it really slowed my production down because I was teaching them how to write, which I kind of wanted to do in the beginning, but I realized that it's one thing to talk to Craig Martelle and say, Craig, this is how I tweak my stuff. Here's the emotional connection I'm going for, versus a Adam Smith person who's like, how do I make a sentence? And I had to quickly understand I could not teach that person. I didn't have the time and the responsibility to do it, even though I had done it 2 or 3 times. Now I can point to people who have successful Stephen Russell, N.D. Roberts, others who have come out with LMBPN and crushed it, but they showed capabilities and knowledge before, but we don't do that anymore. And so just from that standpoint, I hired people who already know. That's always the important part. Make sure they can prove that stuff to you, and they have to be willing to work hard. I mean, honestly, we sometimes go work hard over abilities ourselves.
And that is part of what I contract out, is those things that I don't want to control myself, and I do want to control the business side of it. I do manage the massive spreadsheet of Michael's revenue, which a lot of lines. I think we calculated some 50,000 formulas within this spreadsheet, but I think that's kind of cool.
Well, let's talk about that. Let me talk to that a little bit. Obviously, whenever we started looking at collaborators, Craig, if you did not know, is one of my first 4. So honest God, and then he and I were talking like, holy shit, now I have this problem where I have to figure out how to pay everyone. And Craig is like, hey, I did Excel, for my whole job. And he took that over. So inside the company, you typically have multiple checks and balances. Well, I had issues with collaborators whose wives, and it was funny because I got to talk to the wives later, but whose wives were like, why is he going to pay you? He owes you $4,000 for March. Is he really going to pay you to do this? And of course, I thought that was an odd question. And then I had to turn around and be in their shoes and try to figure out, the wives did not know me from Adam. Chris and Lee, they only knew me from either phone calls, online, or a Zoom call, perhaps. They had never met me, and then they were trusting that I was going to be paying them this money. And so has it worked out since Craig took over the who you owe part? He gets the raw data from Amazon, does all of the calculations, and I was able to say, hey, if you'd like to know exactly, just ask Craig, because he gets the raw data if you need to check anything about it. And so it comes from Craig and it goes over to Stephen Campbell on this other side. He applies different information. I just get the last number of who do I need to pay. So that's how it ended up working out for us. But go ahead, Craig.
And it breaks down by percentage because there's different breakouts, and maybe multiple people, like an anthology. You had one that had 8 different contributors that all got a certain cut, and breaking those percentages out and stuff like that. So it calculates automatically. All we do is plug the stuff in. Here's the new releases, the ISBN, the ASIN, and plug in the raw data of the total royalties for that month, and then we USD normalize it. So we use the end of month currency exchange rate, put those all in, it normalizes, and there you go. And no, I'm not going to share this spreadsheet with anybody because it can break easily. It is very, let's say, user intensive. I don't have it just to set up where you can input data and everything works. So that's unfortunately that's how it is. So it works for us, and we plug it in, and we're within $5 to $20 each month, and we call that good with $250,000-$300,000 in revenue each month. So that's how we work it. And so outsourcing, I don't outsource writing, even though I have collaborators that do the majority of the writing. I still read every word that a collaborator provides, and we go through it. We talk about the plots, and so I kind of work as an in-process developmental editor as well as an overall story arc guy. I love the business side, so I manage the business side, and I don't outsource ads, but FB ads, my executive assistant does a bang-up job and actually is schooling me on how to make those work, because he went through the Mark Dawson's course, SPF ads. So outsourcing keeps helping with newsletters, that kind of stuff. I still jam generally the newsletter, but blog posts, he's now taking some of my cool Facebook posts and making blog posts because I always forget to do that. And stuff like that. But generally, I do a lot more than Michael. Michael has an army of subcontractors taking care of business. I have a on salary.
I would suggest that people look more toward your way of doing things, more toward like Shane Silver's way of doing things. James Hunter, Dakota Kraut, all of these that are keeping it smaller. I did go big, but I have a very specific reason for going big, an IP way. It is a lot more stress. Let me tell you.
One book a week is absolute maximum for me. I can't get any more than that. Trying to get into April and May, I am at max density right now. So this is it, and we'll roll over and flow, because I don't really want to bring more on board because of I still want my fingerprint on it. So how do we maximize that? How do we maximize the backlist and promote that effectively? So that's what I'm working at now, is those 2 promotions a month to get the books in front of people. So let's go to Kevin's question. All right, what is the most important thing for a mid-list author working toward A-list to focus on?
I believe is finding that story, the series, typically in my experience, that resonates with the audience and digging deep to give that to them. Then you learn why it resonated with them and provide that each time. So, as I've worked with certain people, I've done it most recently with Sarah Nofke and others. it's finding that piece that connects with them personally on an emotional level. They're able to put more of themselves into the character that makes it more believable, likable, and the genre specific. And then if they hit with it, dig deep, go deeper. Don't squirrel to another series. Don't do this other thing. Give the fans what they want, because that's going to give you the money, the additional fans, to allow you to then continue building. So it's the same process we ended up using with Arthurian Gambit. We're seeing it work again, even as recently as 2 weeks ago. And nothing seems to have changed from that. So that's my personal feeling. I watched it happen with Logan Jacobs, which is a pen name for another individual, and he put out 4 different books, 4 different series. One of those 4 is killing it, Arena, and I've read the book. It's a good book. For me personally, I enjoyed it quite a bit, and so I know what he's doing there. But you lay out 4, 1 hit. Go deep in that one. Make sure you focus on getting that one out and rise to the top. Craig is like,
I'm frozen, but can you hear me?
Oh yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
It's a suitable picture.
The mid-list author for me, because I consider myself a sub-mid-list, is targeting. Targeting is the king of advertising, because if you can target the readers, and this is assuming you have a good product, and I am satisfied with the products and the stories I have, and I know they're good because they've been through 2 different hands, they've got multiple developmental editors, and then finally through the insider team. So I know they're good, but targeting that readership, because every series is just a little bit different, and that makes the difference in targeting, because what works for one won't work for the other. That's the difference between mid-list and A-list. The A-listers can launch into the top 100 by sending their new book to their newsletter alone, nothing else. And that's a Mark Dawson bust. He published his last book, sent just his newsletter, didn't announce it on Facebook or anything for 2 days, and still got to, I think, top 20, top 30 with that book overall Amazon, just off his newsletter. Now, admittedly, he has 100,000 people on his list, but it's still, that's the difference between mid-list and A-list. Because now if he really kicks in marketing, it stays in the top 30 for a week, 2 weeks, top 100 for a month, and all of a sudden you've made some pretty goddamn good money.
Pretty good. We'll leave it at that.
You
still with me?
Okay, yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yep, can do. Okay. So next one.
Let's see. Let's make one more question.
So we got Troy Hills, right? Other than perseverance, tenacity, and keep writing, what do you see as the area skills to master that indie fiction authors need to excel at the next few years to build their market following in order to increase their own chance of success? And I mean, effectively, the answer is, the strategy is either, be discoverable, be findable in your genre, for your genre, but the tactics that I think is really what, the skills, the area skills and tactics are all over the damn map, right? So you'll find somebody who has a newsletter list and is killing it, and someone who doesn't have a newsletter list and is killing it. Part of the answer is to your personality. How do you do it? Are you good with social media? Can you be on Facebook? Can you grow a list and then learn the tactics that get people to come find you so that you have people talking about you? Arthurian Gambit grew because fans were telling people in the grocery stores and in the bank and everything else about the stories and what it meant to them. So, from that standpoint, can you get people to talk about you? So in general, that's probably how it narrows down. Can you build a product and get people to be sharing that product with others so that you are discoverable and findable with the absolute best marketing, which is someone told someone else? Craig? I think we might have totally lost Craig this time. Craigster, where are you? Well, if I can't see anything what anyone else is doing. I guess I'm not paying attention to the notes. Otherwise, I'd try to answer some questions for him. Things that are going on, LMBPN's looking at audio, obviously. We have about 150 products already, and so we're looking more. the box longer. There you are. Are you back?
I don't know. Am I back? Okay, I'm back.
What? Damn it! You're right. Where is this? I couldn't see what there was. That red thing was hiding. What did it say?
Oh, it said lost it all.
Oh,
because I locked up and as well as didn't have it. The what do indie fiction authors need to excel at? Presence. You need to have a presence either through a velocity and volume, building a backlist and being available, or presence as in people know you, whether it's networking at say 20 book shows, or a good marketing campaign where people see you and recognize you, or your books and your brand them. So I would say presence is the big thing that will carry an indie as well as a trad pub author who comes on over to indie. That presence. They may already have name recognition, but will they be in a place where new fans will say, hey, I want to pick up that book?
So last year, DragonCon, I got to watch a panel related to an individual who has trad pub books. You would argue he's very successful. He's well known in the science fiction area. And I've watched another one who has sold millions of books. And the interesting thing about both of them is on their indie side, they don't sell much. They don't sell nearly as well, because the trad pub doesn't necessarily move over to the indie side, and the skills, there are no skills from the trad side all that often that transfer to the indie side. So they have to learn it as well. So this issue of discoverability, findability, presence is a bitch for doesn't matter where you start. So from the standpoint of that one thing, that is the answer, is discoverability, findability, presence, and getting to be known. And how you do that is just as many different ways as how to write a book.
Sandwich boards, man. It's the future.
in 20 below weather. You've heard it here, folks, everybody. Get your sandwich boards in 20 below weather and do that.
And we will end with, as you paddle the shit out of your career, where do you find your collaborators? And this is, I had a little conversation with an individual this morning on that. And the big thing that we came to in regards to a conclusion was you have to find a collaborator who already writes in a way that you're good with. Mm-hmm. Because if you think you're going to train them and then you want to increase the word count from 1,000 a day to 5,000 a day, guess what those 5,000 words are going to look like? Exactly like the first sample they sent you. So if you've written no books together or 10 books together, at some point they're going to go back to exactly the way they were writing when you first started, unless they're truly committed to changing and continually improve from word to word. Generally, you get what you get from the outset.
Yeah, that is, yes. It took a little while for us to learn that, but I did come to that conclusion some time back. It's just don't. When somebody says, hey, do you want to see what this looks like? I'm like, no, just show me what you do. Show me what you do well, what you like. Now, you might be able to change levity, although we really don't even try. If someone has a horror bent, I found
it does not work.
Yeah, no, we don't even try. It's like, oh, you like horror? We'll try to find something that, connects to horror.
Yeah. Dark and horror. If you're looking for light and airy, that person, despite their dedication and desire, can't get there from here.
You know what? A good example of this is actually Martha Carr. She was a decades of the thriller, little bit dark, real mysterious, and she was traditionally published in all of this. But it was when she came over to the urban fantasy, light, fun, throwing the curse words around, that she had some significant success.
Because she blended in with it. That was her more natural tendency as opposed to what she wrote for Trad Pub. Yeah. Because they kind of wicker you one way or another, just like we would do with collaborators. Hey, if we want to write a lighthearted military science fiction, trying to shoehorn somebody into that doesn't work. Trying to shoehorn a romance author into high fantasy didn't work. There was a lot of learning here, and the easiest and best way if you're going to do a collaboration is find somebody that you mesh with, and that's hard work is okay, but if you get a sample and it doesn't meet with what you want, then just say, hey, this doesn't work. Here's something different, and get a new sample.
Yeah.
Don't say, hey, it's close. You write well, but I don't like the direction. Let's look at doing this. And then you start moving forward. Now you're both going to be disappointed. It's going to be a lot of work. And
So
the water will settle back.
We talked to what to do about it, but the finding of it. I think you've used anthologies at some level. We've certainly used Write for the Fans, because I found out early on that collaborators don't want to read 20 books to understand the universe. And they just want to just read half of the first book and go.
Like I did.
And so, yeah. And so Write for the Fans was created as an opportunity to give fans who wanted to have their name on a book and get it out, as well as we've ended up using it as a filter for finding fans who know the universe and can write in it. Other ways that we do it include, and I think MD Cooper has used that model now, and others, which, you know, people do occasionally reach out to us. Typically, I have to push all of those to somebody else, and there's legal reasons for me doing that, by the way, and not just time reasons. So other ways, reach out to them. I mean, granted, I reached out to Craig because I knew of him on 20 books and his post-apocalyptic, but Justin Sloan, one of also my first 4, reached out to me. You know, he asked someone and they just said, hey, just talk to him. So reach out to the person. You know, typically you're not going to go from really low to a really high level person unless you've got something that is just so freaking compelling that they can't think twice. Other ways could be, don't we have a listing for collaborations in 20 books?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a thread.
Yeah, there's a thread. That's another way. The events themselves, talk to Krishan Keller-Hanna. She found, God only knows how many people at the first 20 books event with her Shaman States of America event. There are a fair amount. If you have some military sci-fi, you might, you know, find out who's doing universes. I don't know if Chris, the guy who's doing 4 Horsemen.
Chris Kennedy.
Yeah, Chris Kennedy. I don't know what they do, but look into it, because they might have 6 months of books that are backlogged, but I don't know your writing speed. You know, maybe it takes you a few months, and, you know, don't hesitate to find out what it is. Don't do anything ugly to get in front of them, but it still works. Relationships, meeting them in person is huge. You know, I, once again, due to Craig bringing Kevin down to Bali, but I can call out to Kevin. I've had beer with him and Mark Leslie Lefebvre now because I went somewhere, right? So, you know, it takes you getting up and moving. It's not as often able to be done from the comfort of your dark lair. Thoughts, Craig?
The face-to-face is critical, and that's the 20 books events. Look at Edinburgh with the writing. I guarantee we will probably pull in a new collaborator or 3 based on what they look like and their collaborators and their work, what they look like in their work. I don't care what anybody looks like.
Well, that's it.
I care that they write a great story.
I'm going to give you shit about this after the call.
And that they deliver what they promised.
Yes.
So if you're going to do a book in a week, you're going to be done by Saturday. By Saturday, I want to be seeing the complete book. Yeah, you miss deadlines. Maybe that worked for TradPub, but that sure as hell doesn't work for us.
No, we don't have deadlines of 6 months out. You know, so that is a big deal. And just be honest. Don't lie to yourself. Yeah, that I can get this done by Saturday. Don't do that. Just whatever. Figure out what it is, and then under promise and over deliver.
Yep, exactly. So that's one word that I used when I first joined with Michael was his collaborators were freakishly driven. But Justin Sloan and me, I mean, we did what we had to do to get the words down and then make sure that they're good words. Get people to read them and give feedback and check for canon, because I was writing in somebody else's universe. How is this going to work in your universe? Oh my God, it's not called a shuttle, it's a pod. Oh, fuck, man. Let me fix that. Don't look at it anymore. Don't look at it anymore. Let me go fix it. So,
Yeah, if you look at all of the originals, or Justin, you, Martha, Natalie, all of them still work damned hard. Whether or not, I mean, Justin doesn't work with LMBPM straight anymore, but if you look at his output, he is freakishly driven. These people were freakishly driven before they worked with LMBPM. So if you want to filter, that's one of them. What are they doing? You know, I used to be, to some degree, I still have it, but my personality is such that I don't want to judge people. I want to believe the best in people. And it felt like I was doing them a disservice, or I was doing karma a disservice if I would make a judgment call on something. And then I had to realize that I needed to step back and say, it's not that I'm judging them as a human being. I am judging their output or whatever, notwithstanding the justifications for it, and just going, do they hit their dates? That is an objective statement. There's no judgment in it. And the answer is yes, they do, or no, they don't. And if I can't do it, then it's not so much that I'm saying, I'm sorry, I'm pulling this away from you. It's merely, with this company and the requirements based on people who are depending on me, we have to hit these dates. If I can't do it, and sometimes I can, but if I can't do that, it's once again not a judgment on you. It could be a judgment on what you've allowed your life to become, but it just means that this isn't the connection for you. And I know that Craig has, quote, fired a few people for that himself.
And I don't set deadlines. I ask people, when can you get this done? And they give me a deadline. And so you miss your own deadline. That's almost unforgivable, especially if it's every time. That doesn't work for me.
Yeah. Yeah. So have we answered some of those? Are there some additional ones?
I think we've answered it's been an hour and a half. So I think we probably bored the freaking snot out of enough people for an hour and a half.
So where are you going to be next?
Sunday? What's that?
Yeah, where are you going to be next? What's your next big quote unquote event?
Nebulas.
Okay.
Where hopefully we will have big happiness and joy with some finalists. There were a number of indies put in, and we're on the reading list. But did any of them make the finalists? And that's what we should know. I think 20th they're going to make the announcement.
And that's in April?
That is in May, I believe.
Okay, so May in California.
So
you're going to, yeah, I know you love that. I will be at London Book Fair in early March. I'm also going to be on the Digital Ali conference with either Kevin Tomlinson or Mark Leslie of Draft to Digital to discuss our zoo project and kind of how that's working with them as a model for one of the models of the future. And then in April, I don't know what's going on in April that I have necessarily, but May we're going to be at New York Book Expo and Audio Publishers Association. And then we have Edinburgh. Well, I've got SIF with you, the Nebulas. And then we have Edinburgh, WorldCon, Beijing Book Fair. I don't think I'm hitting DragonCon or NINC this year because I had to give up something, adding these others. Frankfurt Book Fair. And then we have, to round out, of course, 20 Books Vegas. Yay. And then Adelaide. 20 Books Adelaide has become a thing because of you.
How about that? But I forgot GaryCon. And GaryCon, I'm going there to play. That's a convention.
Yeah, I need to get set up to that. And I know it requires a year or two in advance. I tried last year to join last minute. I think impossible. Impossible.
No, they sell out way early. It's in honor of Gary Gygax, Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah. It is way cool. It is a way cool show. And actually, I have 2 collaborators who are going to the show. So we'll
nice. Oh, that's something about any of the 20 book events, any conference, frankly, period. But I am totally aware of close professional friends, if you were close professional work friends, who bring people to 20 Books Vegas, and the show is the secondary reason. They come there to meet, right? So everybody, because Vegas is an easy place to get to, and they come there just to have their personal company powwows while this whole event is going on. And you are facilitating that happening by having one of the rooms open 24 hours a day this year.
Mm-hmm.
No, you can
Yes.
speak to that. That was a
Yes, indeed. We're going to call it Independence Hall. It's a place for indies to go hang out instead of sitting in those ugly metal chairs down outside of McDonald's at 3 a.m. Go to Independence Hall. It'll be open 24/7 starting Monday afternoon about 4 p.m. I believe. That's what I've asked the hotel for. They haven't confirmed yet, but we'll arm twist them until we get it.
And then I'm not on the schedule unless you did something to me, which is completely plausible. But I plan on doing almost like a midnight with Michael, where we find a room and it's almost not quite to ask me anything because I am not that open. But what's your favorite position? Not talking. And so, just something that's there for those that can stay up that late.
I think I put it at 10 p.m. on Wednesday in Independence Hall. and then you have a 8 a.m. presentation
the next morning.
on Thursday.
Oh, nice. Oh.
No, I didn't do that to you. I actually, right now, I think we're going to be able to start at 9 each morning instead of 8. So we're good.
Refreshing.
And we'll talk about Vegas and stuff like that at a different time. March 29th, 9 a.m. Alaska time. I will send out the link and post it on 20 books to 50K and 20 books to 50K Vegas. And then sign up 850 spots. And then when you get the rejection for number 851, then there will be a link in that rejection letter for signing up on the wait list.
Yes.
And we will have some seats that will open up probably. And what I'm doing on this one is I'm overselling and counting on it to draw down. So if we sell 850 and somebody can't come, that doesn't mean there's an empty seat. It now means we don't have people standing, or we have that many fewer standing.
So, yeah, we are trying to make this a bigger event, and we are looking at what would it take if we wanted to do something bigger? How would we do that? Always comes into cost. This year, it costs more to do this because you are putting video in all of the rooms,
Yes.
and so there's an extra cost there. But I think you maybe charge $10 more to help cover that.
We have security. We're going to have people working at the event security. They'll have some kind of high-vis shirt that will be clearly labeled 20 books to 50K. So if you have an issue with somebody, or if the room is locked, or that's what they'll be responsible for. We'll have one person for each of the breakout rooms.
Okay. Just we recognize that it's growing. We recognize, some needs that are there that are happening, which we never considered. The restaurants getting filled up because of these meetings. Okay, let's see if we can accomplish and support that.
Yeah. We have 450 out of the 600 rooms that Samstown has. We're not competing with bowling this year. It'll be just us. So that facility should be able to hold us okay.
I got to talk to, we have a new relationship with a gentleman who has really tight connections with Samstown going back a decade. And you'll be meeting him next Wednesday night, as a matter of fact, Craig. You'll at least be talking to him anyway.
Yep.
But anyway, so in doing so, I'm just curious, during that conversation with him, I don't know if you guys are phone, Zoom, whatever, but if we can ask him if there's a way to grab that other 150 rooms.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't asked that. I think their general availability, I think they can only commit 75% to
okay, so people can actually go in there and grab the rooms. They're just not going to get the quote best price.
That's right.
Okay, and the difference is probably $8 or $10 a night. It's not much.
It's not going to be too much. Probably 49 to 69. It might be $20, but still, okay. It's worth it to be in the hotel for your personal safety. You don't want to be walking anywhere outside too far. And if need be, we can get next door, just like last year. But that's not optimal. It's best to be in the hotel in Samstown.
Sorry, I didn't actually mean to make this a 20 Books Vegas thing, but there was just things that were on my mind.
Well, and it is so cool. It is the flagship conference. This will be our third one. We got a shout out in Writers Magazine. We get a shout out from SPF that this is the conference you really need to go to. SPF is bringing 4 people. They're bringing their whole team.
Yeah, which is self-publishing formula. Mark Dawson's and James Blash's group. James was here most recent. Mark's coming. Got to see him in Bali as well. You know, Bali actually makes really close friendships. It's something about that place binds you together.
It was cool. It was cool. Not cool. It was hot as fuck, but and humid. But it was a neat experience. All right, man. On that note, you guys have a great Sunday. Enjoy your time off, and we'll talk to you later.
Bye, folks.